Danny Green, a carpenter by trade from Perth, Western Australia. He's an Olympian, three-time, three-division boxing world champion, head of Australia's most successful and prominent boxing promotional outfit, Green Machine Boxing. Fought in both of the highest grossing and most prestigious bouts this country has ever had. 37 fights, 32 wins, and 28 by knockout. The Green Machine. Danny Green is in the house, but we go into the video first. Ladies and gentlemen, can you please be on your feet? Put your hands together. The Green Machine. Danny Green is in the house. Come on, make some noise.
Thanks, guys. Thanks very much. Grab a seat. Haven't had a standing ovation for a while. Thanks for the mad jab, champ. Unreal. What an introduction. Thanks for hanging around for so long. I know it's been a long day and it's pretty late in the evening. Thanks for having me, and hopefully I can just give you a bit of insight into where I've come from, where I've been in my career, how I got to where I am today. And I guess the message I want to try and touch on is the ability to overcome hardship and to persevere, and I guess mental strength and the mindset you need to have in order to be successful in your chosen profession or whatever it is in your life, whether it's sport, raising your family, or trying to build a business and grow a business. I'm actually a carpenter by trade. You don't really want me having anything to do with building your house because I'm terrible at it. I left school. I enjoyed school. I loved it. I had my mates for 7.5 hours a day, got in a lot of trouble, and got to hang around the girls all day. And for me, it was a lot of fun, but just I had to do the work at the same time, and that didn't really work for me. And I got in not a lot of trouble, but I was just pretty hard to deal with for the teachers, so I didn't like to concentrate much. I had a lot of other things on my plate. So I left school and did my pre-apprenticeship, then I got an apprenticeship as a carpenter, finished my trade, but never really wanted to do it. I always wanted to be a professional fighter. And I worked for the government when I did my apprenticeship. It was for the Water Corporation, and people used to say, "What do? You build wooden pipes." And I said, "No, I did a lot of maintenance, did this, did that." And first year we had the awards, and I got the Apprentice Carpenter of the Year. I took that home. I was only young. I took it home, pen and a special certificate, and showed the old man. He said, "Far out, mate, that's unreal." He didn't expect it. Second year I got Apprentice Carpenter of the Year as well. Twice in a row I took that home again. "Geez, mate, you're doing really well. You're excelling. I'm very proud of you." Third year, Apprentice Carpenter of the Year again, brought it home. By this time he jerried on, and when I brought it home for the fourth year running, he got brought on because "You're the only bloody carpenter there, aren't you, mate?" I said, "Yes, mate." They had to give it to someone. Ever since I was a young kid, when I was 5, 6, 7 years old, I remember watching footage of Muhammad Ali on sport on the news. My father was interested in boxing. He never fought. No one in my family has fought, or I don't come from a background of any pugilists. I'm the only person in my family tree that's been a fighter. And since I was a kid, I've always been intrigued and always loved and wanted to be a professional fighter. I didn't think that I would be here to where I am to this day. It's something that I guess I've gravitated towards, but I've always wanted to do it. But you just, when you're a kid, you don't realise what you're going to do in your life. You don't think that's going to happen, but it's what I always loved. And then when I was a bit older, 11, 12, 13, used to watch, as we all used to do, watch World War Sports on a Sunday morning. I used to see my favourites, Tommy Hearns, Roberto Duran, Marvin Hagler and Sugar Ray Leonard, the fabulous four, that golden era of boxing. And you watch the weigh-ins, and I used to see them at the press conferences, and they'd be, dressed in the nines and slick suits, and then they'd be, very respectful, and, but they meant business and was a real deal. And they have the weigh-in, and they were in impeccable physical condition. Then they'd fight, and they'd put on some of the best fights that this world's ever going to see in the history of the sport. It's an amazing era. And I was captivated from then on. I didn't really have anywhere to go where I was from in Perth. It's, wasn't a big sport back then, in Perth especially. Pretty isolated compared to the East Coast. So I started karate. My dad knew a karate instructor and went along and did karate. And it was a kind of a freestyle form of martial arts, and it was pretty tough. It was not a lot of rules or regulations, and it was basically run by a bunch of hoods. And so, I was 12 years old, and I was, coming home with blood all over me and busted up lips and, black eyes and cuts and bruises and hobbling. And, I was only in year 8 at school, and I was fighting grown men at that stage. So from a very young age, I've been involved in fighting and been, I guess, in a physical sport, physical combat sport. And I learned from a very young age that, man, I can really handle myself here. And I was up against grown men. I was 13, 14, 15. I was only a very small kid. But I was, punching on with much bigger, stronger men who were, 35 years old, and they were up against a 13, 14, 15-year-old kid, and they were getting towed up, and it was embarrassing for the blokes. And I realised from an early age that I had the ability to fight. Not only that, but I had the eye and the instinct, to avoid stuff and know what to do. But I also realised that I had the strength mentally to overcome the fear of facing a grown man and fighting him. And when I say fighting, I don't mean like a street fight, but it may as well have been a street fight. We had little hand mitts on, and I'd punch on, and I realised from a young age that I can do this. I can really fight, and I was very keen to pursue a boxing career, but I didn't really have anywhere to go. So I then did kickboxing for 2 years. Had a couple of kickboxing fights, and won one, lost one. Wasn't that crash. I just always wanted to be a fighter, a stand-up boxer. Age of 18, I met my first amateur coach named Patrick De Valerius, little Burmese guy, and I'm still very close to him to this day. He looks like Mr. Miyagi from the Karate Kid. He's a little Burmese guy, and my name being Daniel, and he used to call me Daniel-san. Hey, Daniel-san this, and Daniel-san this, you must do this, Daniel-san. And people used to think he was taking a line from the movie. And I said, Pat, have you seen the movie? He goes, no, son, what are you talking about? He'd never seen the movie, just coincidence. Anyway, we formed a pretty close bond together, and he was, very, very strong in his fundamental basics of boxing. Basically, a good, strong, hard jab, good centre of gravity, punch hard, try and avoid as many punches as you can, obviously. Use your feet work, but just very basic groundworks to go off, and obviously held me in very good stead in what was to become a long and fruitful career in the sport of professional boxing. So I had my first amateur fight, and it was an old place called Midland Town Hall, and back then I felt like I was Rocky Balboa when I was walking in the ring. There was probably about half the people in this audience, but to me it felt like I was, watching Rocky 4. And got to the ring, and I remember, I'd done plenty of sparring, had a couple of kickboxing fights, and been, around the game for a while. But the lights were on, it was bright lights, and, it was a whole new environment. The guy across me, his name was Milos Radovic. He was 10-7, 3 losses, but 7 of his fights he'd won by knockout, and I was in my professional debut. He was covered in tattoos. He was a bit of a hard man around town. He had a bit of a reputation. But the matchmaker thought, oh, this guy Green will handle it, no problem. So he threw me in the bloody deep end pretty quick. And remember when the bell went, we started teeing off on each other, and he cracked me a couple of good shots, and I saw black for a split second, and he wobbled me a bit. And I remember thinking to myself, I don't know why I thought this, but I'm thinking, he's actually trying to bloody hurt me. What's this guy trying to do, I was kind of shocked. So a couple more cracks to the chin, and I kind of, then I stepped up a bit. And third round, it was over. I finished him off in the third round and regained my composure. But from that very early stage of my career, my very first amateur fight, I realised that mentally I had the ability to adjust and to not get overawed and not scared, but not to, because you're not really scared in a fight. If you're in there, you know what you're doing. But it's more fear of failure, fear of not winning what you've trained to set out to achieve. And so after that fight, I kind of thought to myself, I have the ability to try and take this further. And so I really persevered and stuck with it. And in the sport of boxing, any sport, you need to be, obviously very, very strong mentally. You need to, because your body can train, you need to be strong physically. Your body can train, you can push your body and go very, very hard, but your mind is what runs the machine. So I treat my body like it's a machine, and it doesn't matter. So when I'm running up the hill and I've got a car tyre strapped around my waist, and there's looks like I'm being chased by a car tyre, and my legs are burning, and the lactic acid in my bum feels like my bum's bigger than Flojo's, and I just want to lie down in a bath of sun-kissed and go to sleep, and just with a straw. But it's your mind that tells your body to keep going, to keep persevering, to keep pushing. And a lot of guys I know, they'll pull back. and they'll stop and we're training. I've been training from when I was young. I would train very hard and train with a group of guys. And I always was the guy that was not finishing last, would be last to finish training. I'd always be doing the extra bits. And it never dawned on me that that was what's going to be, necessary to have to be a world champion fighter. And these guys that I was training with, and I noticed them as they went on in their life. I look back at them now and what they've done with their life, and there's no disrespect to what they've done or anything like that. They're great people, but I just noticed that they mentally weren't as strong as what I was back then, and they didn't have that, and they wanted to be, they wanted to be a fighter like I did. They wanted to go to the next level, but they couldn't. And some of these guys, they had much better skill than I did. They were faster. They had better technique at that stage. They were probably a little bit more naturally gifted than I was, but they didn't have the mongrel. They didn't have that mindset that was willing to, basically run in front of a bus if that was what was needed to win the next fight. And so I realised I had that. I had the fitness, I had the strength, and genetically I was gifted with a couple of attributes to help me in my sport. I've got pretty big hands, and that helps when you whack someone. They usually kind of stay hit. And I have a very good internal engine that can, that can handle a lot of stress, a lot of physical, a physical stress through putting it, what your body gets put through in a regime to get to, your body in peak physical condition to get to a fight for a world title. And I realised I had the mindset. I had that very, very strong mindset and that aggressiveness to want to persevere, to be victorious. And I overcame some shocking injuries. I've got 2-inch plate and 8 screws in that hand. This hand here, you might not be able to see, but I broke that hand in the Olympic Games in 2000. I broke that against Alexander Lebzak. You were there, weren't you, mate? And so I'll get to that later on. But there's a lot of injuries that I've had throughout my career. I've broken my nose 12 times. I'll tell you a funny story about my nose. Excuse me, has everyone eaten dinner? What do you all like at holding it down? I want to test you. So I was in Philippines in a little island called Bacolod. We had a competition for the Australian boxing team against other, mostly Asian countries. It was called the Mayor's Cup. It was an amateur tournament that was an annual thing. And they were supposed to have it in Manila, but they had this little third world island called Bacolod to try and, the tourism wanted to try and get, some exposure to there. So I went there. I fought a guy, he was a German guy, and he hit me within like about 40 seconds, he hit me with a left hook. And he hit me so hard that, I've gone boom and I've wobbled. I didn't go down, but I've wobbled. And the referee, it was a really big shot, and the referee gave me a standing 8 count. He gave you, in amateur fighting, they give you a standing count if you hurt badly to see if you can recover, and if you're okay to recover, then the fight goes on. If the referee thinks you can't go on, that's it, they call it off for the fight at safety. So I'm like, yeah, no problem, I'm all right, let's go. No, let's do it, let's keep going. This big German guy's over in the corner, he's waiting for me to get back in, and he's waiting to tear my head back off. And I noticed there was something in my eye, and I couldn't quite see, so I'm kind of rubbing this thing out my eye, going, what's that in my eye? And I'm still a bit dazed, still a bit concussed. And I realised that what I'm trying to rub out of my eye is my nose. My nose was so badly broken, it's kind of impairing my vision now, so it's right over here. It was a bad one. And the ref said, you're right to go, and I could see him looking at me kind of strange. You're right to go, and yeah, I'm right to go, mate, no worries. And then it hadn't actually started bleeding yet. Then I walked in, and the German guy's gone, boom, and he's crapped me straight in the button, I've gone, whoop, and it started pouring out with blood. And that's it, the referee looked at one more time and said, nah, man, you can't fight on. They called the fight off. Then I jumped out, the ring was over, and I was disappointed, obviously, and I didn't realise how bad it was, and I went and looked at the mirror and looked at my head and went, oh, God, that's terrible. Jeez, I'm pretty rough to begin with, but that's bad. So I went to the boys, said, boys, I've got a towel. I said, boys, you're going to have to do me a favour. I went to the team manager first. His name was Dennis. I can't remember his last name anyway. I went to Dennis, I said, Dennis, can you please just put this nose back into place, mate? And he goes, no way, mate, I'm not doing that. I went to the boys, come on, boys. Try to jerry the boys on to get me to put my nose back into place. They wouldn't do it. I said, that's too bad, you've got to go to hospital. I'm thinking, Bacolod, Third World Hospital, what are they going to do for me there? So I drove to hospital in an ambulance, and I was still in my fight gear, and I was pouring out with blood, and I couldn't stop it, and I was pretty disappointed and pretty demoralised on the way to a Third World Hospital, which wasn't the best outcome. Got there. On the way, obviously, it turned out they'd called the specialist who lived on the island of Bacolod, and he happened to be one of the best specialists in Philippines for nose reconstructions and facial reconstructions, and they had him on standby just in case for the tournament. So 45 minutes later, he came to the hospital, and when I got to the hospital, it was a terrible scene. There was people there, there was blood everywhere. It was a pretty bad scene, and made me realise how lucky I am to live in such a blessed country in Australia. Anyway, they got me into a back room. There was no beds, no rooms. They put me in a little back room with like an office with cabinets and desks and filing cabinets everywhere and a fan going. And the doctor came in and he looked at me and went, oh, and he looked at my nose. He said, all right, we're going to do this. Okay, no problem. And he gave me a needle. He got this needle. It was like about that long. It was, it was almost as thick as my finger. And he jabbed one in there, and one in there, and then one up there, and one up there, and then so two in there, two in there, two in there, two in there. 8 needles all together in about the space of about 30 seconds, 40 seconds. So he's bang, 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 and I'm one of the Dennis, the marshal, Dennis Marshall, his name was, the team manager. He's behind me, and he's holding me down. I'm sitting on an old stool. The doctor's putting these needles at my face. And because the front of your face has got a lot of nerves, the anaesthetic doesn't stay in your system very long, so they've got to go really quickly. So he put his foot up on the chair in between my legs, and he's got my face, and Dennis is holding my shoulders down. And one of the other boxers, I can't remember his name, but he's sitting there and he's looking like this going, kind of going far out. I hope that's not me next time. And he started working up my face, and he started going, and I could feel it, and he started cracking my nose. I said, "Oh, Doc." And it felt like it felt like my brain was being moved. I said, "Oh, Doc, you have to stop, mate. That's hurting. That's really bad." He goes, "All right, no worries." So he picked the needle back up, threw some more anaesthetic out, and bang, bang, 8 more up, 2 up, and then 2 in that side there. I wish I hadn't told him. And then he went to work, and he goes, "You'll hear a cracking sound." He actually cracked it back into place. You could hear it crack into place. Then he got the forceps, and he part of my foot, and he got the gauze. He had like about 1.5 foot long gauze, each up each nostril, stuffed up each nostril. And he said, "Come and see me in my office in 2 days' time," because we had to fly back to Australia. And he said, "Don't sneeze. Don't cough and don't sneeze." I said, "Oh, cool, no worries." Went back to the hotel. 2 days later, I went to his office and saw him. When I got to the office, he said, "We're going to, pull this thing out. It's going to hurt your nose." So he pulled it out, and he started pulling this gauze out, and it was just insane. The pain was hideous. It was really, really painful. He pulled both of them out, and then he told me, he said, "It's going to bleed profusely. I'm going to put some spray up there, and it'll stop within 5 seconds," which it did. He mopped the blood up and he said, "Rightio, on your way, you should be fine." And I could breathe, and it felt great, and it didn't actually look too bad. Well, from what it was, it doesn't look too bad. And it was on the way home, I flew to Sydney, and then I flew to Perth. And at the Sydney airport, I remember I had to sneeze, and he said, "Oh, if you have to cough or sneeze, it's okay now, but try not to do too hard." So I remember being outside the toilet, and I had a bit of a sneeze. I sneezed, and I felt this big thing in my nose. I went, "Oh God, that's terrible." So I went to the toilets. I'm sitting there looking, and there was a little bit of thing hanging out my nose. And I'm sorry, but this is pretty bad, but it's pretty funny. And a businessman got out from the toilet, and he's out the toilet, and he's put his briefcase down, and he's sitting there next to me in the mirror next to me, and he's washing his hands, and he's looking over, he's looking in the mirror, what's this guy doing? I'm sitting there in Australian outfit, Australian boxing, team uniform, and I'm picking my nose. And I've gone, "Oh, what is that?" And it was painful. And what I thought actually it was a bit of, what it was the gauze. He'd left a bit of gauze up there. And when I've pulled it out, I've gone, and pulled out and it was covered in lots of yucky stuff. Pulled it out, and it would have looked like I'd pulled, and for a split second I thought I'd pulled out a bit of ligament from my brain and my head. And this bloke's washing his hands, and he's thinking, "Fuck, I'm out of here." He took off. I realised what it was, calmed down, and I breathed. I could breathe again, so it was good. So I digressed off the story, but I thought I'd just let you know that's probably on a scale of about 4 out of 10 of some of the injuries and some of the hideous things that have had to happen to me. But getting back to that, it's been a mindset that I've had to have. So I made my way onto the Australian boxing team and fought at the Commonwealth Games in 1998, and then I fought at the Olympic Games, got selected to go to the Olympic Games in Sydney, 2000. And that was a massive thrill for me, and obviously the pinnacle of my career as an amateur. And I always remember saying to my dad, I said, I'm very close to my father, and I said, "Dad, the best thing about this is I'm going to get to meet Muhammad Ali," because he was expected to be at the Olympic Games. And at the food hall one day, we knew he was going to be there, and one of the boys ran and said, Granny, Muhammad Ali's in the food hall." And I jumped out of bed and ran down with a little 24-shot Hanimex camera I bought from the chemist 2 days before in Homebush, and ran down, and we got to the food hall, and there was a massive throng of people that would have been as big as the ground, the floor area of this auditorium. And they were all surrounding Muhammad Ali. And I'm thinking, "Oh, damn, I want to get to meet the guys, no chance," spewing. Anyway, one of the SPG, the Special Patrol Group guys, the TRG, the guys who did the security, they were, guns here and walkie-talkies, and they were the security for the Olympic Village. And he came over, and we actually become friends with him. The boxing team actually used to invite him in and have a Coke and have a Powerade with him and chew the fat. We were pretty much the only athletes that ever spoke to him. A lot of the other high-profile athletes were kind of, a bit too cool and a bit too focused on what they're doing. We're just a bunch of knockabout boxers. We're like, "Yeah, boys, come have a chat to us anytime." It worked in our favour being good blokes. he said to me, what are you doing here, Danny? I said, I'm coming to see Muhammad Ali, mate. He goes, but I said, no chance he's going to be out of there, you know, I'm not going to be able to see him. He goes, mate, come with me. If an Australian boxer can't see Muhammad Ali, no one can. He marched him up the front of the line. And he marched me and he put me right in the front of the line. And I felt terrible. And there was athletes from all different parts of the country. I remember standing up. I don't know what country she was from, but I remember her face to this day. It was 12 years ago. I felt so bad. I parked in front of her at the front of the line. And, you know, no one was going to argue with me because I was with a guy who had guns on his hips and he was, you know, probably shoot someone by the looks of the guy. He looked pretty aggro. Anyway, this girl was very upset. And everyone, I could just feel the eyes burning the back of my back. Their eyes burning holes in me. I'd never pushed in before. I teach my kids, don't push in, wait your turn. If you miss out, you miss out, but you wait your turn. But this time I was like, man, I'm not missing out on this opportunity. It's Muhammad Ali. I'm staying strong. And then it got worse. It went from bad for worse for me and her. Because the guy goes, hey guys, this guy from Australia is the last guy to see Muhammad today. He's going to be back tomorrow, don't worry, it's okay. And you could hear everyone spewing. This girl, I'm sure, probably has my face etched in her memory for the rest of her life because she missed out. I made her miss out on meeting Muhammad Ali, unfortunately. Anyway, they just said he's coming back because there was going to be a riot otherwise. I sat down. He said, where are you from, mate? I said, oh, I'm from Australia. He goes, okay, man, sit down. Gave him a camera, and Muhammad Ali was sitting there, and he had dark sunglasses on, really big dark sunglasses. And he was suffering badly from Parkinson's disease back then as well. So unfortunately, you could see he had all his faculties intact in his eyes. You could see he knew what was going on, but he just couldn't get it out. He couldn't communicate properly. So I sat down and the guy goes, hey, Muhammad, this guy's a boxer from Australia. I sat down there with that. He took his sunglasses off. He was shaking quite badly. He looked over at me, put his arm on me like that, and put his sunglasses down. He put his fist up to me, and I was thinking, what do I do? What do I do? You know, I didn't know what to do, so I just grabbed him and went, we get the stare down, the boxing stare down. I'm doing it with the guy I've always loved, Muhammad Ali. He's the biggest legend in the sport. And the guy ended up taking a great shot, and it's one of the photos, only boxing photos I got on my wall at home. And I didn't know what to say to him. I just had there, and he tried to say a few things, and I had to get up and go. And I didn't know what to say to the greatest fighter in the world. I just tapped him on the shoulder, and I said, "You're the fucking greatest, mate." And walked off. As I'm walking off, I'm going, "Oh, I just swore at Muhammad Ali." Far out. I feel so bad. I kind of look back in embarrassment and shame, and he's sitting there, and there's Muhammad Ali. He's just sitting there in his chair, and he's looking at me, and his eyes, he's got it all. He's looking at me, he's going, "It's okay, son. I understand. I know you're embarrassed. Don't worry about it." And yes, I'm the fucking greatest. It's very, very cool. I'll never forget it. So I fought in the Olympic Games, and I knocked out Brazil in my first fight, and then I come up against Alexander Lebziak in my second fight. He was from Russia. He was a Russian general in the Russian army, over 300 fights, three-time Olympian, current world champion. And the last Olympic Games, he put our representative, Justin Crawford, in hospital after they fought. He knocked him out pretty badly and had to go to hospital. So I knew I was in against a pretty solid opponent. And it was what I always wanted to do. I said to my dad, I said, mate, if I go to the Olympic Games, I really want to fight Alexander Lebziak. That's the guy I want to go up against. It would have been nice to get him in the final, but I drew him second round. I didn't even dream of getting to the Olympic Games, let alone having a chance to fight Lebziak. And as a fighter, you want to fight the best. You want to try and pit yourself against the best out there. Sometimes I've been in against the best fighters and I've kind of known I'm not going to beat this guy and probably get belted, but I want to have a crack anyway. And that's the mindset you have to have as a fighter if you want to be successful and get to the top. So before the fight was going on, the change rooms are pretty thin. When I say thin, the walls are pretty thin. They're like rice paper. They're just, to separate the fighters. And you can hear exactly what's going on. I could hear the guy coughing and sneezing and burping and farting. That's what was going on. But I couldn't understand what he was saying because they were speaking in Russian. Anyway, before the fight goes on, in amateur fighting you don't get any fanfare. There's no, glitz and glamour. It's just you go there and you do your job. You get in, you get out. Next fight, get in, get out. Next fight, get in, get out. Whereas professional boxing, you get a lot of, there's a bit of showbiz. You get the dancing girls, you get the music, you get the bright lights, you get all the, the Hollywood stuff that goes with it. Well, amateur boxing, you don't get that. But this time we got the chance to play our own song, a lead-in song before the fight started. And they gave us a choice. What song do you want to play, guys, before you walk in? And I thought to myself, what do I want to choose? What song do I choose to play here? And I was the oldest guy on the team. I was 27, which is fairly old for an amateur fighter, but I was a very young, very, very late maturer physically. When I was 18, I was still a boy. And I mean a boy, like I didn't shave. I didn't shave till I was 25. So I only just started shaving when I was at the Olympic Games and I was 27 years old. I'm not joking. And when I started spreading chest hair about 25, I started getting, what the hell is that? Should have been getting it 10 years earlier. That's why I was shocked. forgotten about it. But I was thinking, what song can I use? All the young guys are choosing rap and hard rock and heavy metal and you know, I guess they were choosing, you know, songs to pump them up, but no one really knew what the music was, you know. I liked the music, it sounded great, and I knew most of it, but it didn't really evoke any emotion in the crowd. And there was 7,000 or 8,000 people at Darling Harbour, and I was the last Australian to fight on that night. I was the only Australian to fight, and I was the last fight of the night. Now, as Aussies do, they'd loaded up, the bar had been drained by the time I got out there, so they were waiting to see an Aussie punch on and get bashed by this Russian bloke. And they didn't know who I was, but, you know, they were waiting for an Australian to come out. You know, Aussies were very parochial. So anyway, I remember choosing a song, and I chose Men at Work's Land Down Under. You all know that song, guys? It's kind of an iconic song, and worldwide, that's the song that Australians are identified by when they're overseas. So I chose that song because I knew it would evoke emotion in the crowd when I get out there, and knowing they're full of piss, it'll really get them cracking. So when I got out there, and I told the boys that's the song I'm choosing, they're all laughing at me going, oh, how's Pops over here? No one's going to like that song. They're all going for Metallica and this and that. So when the song started playing, before I get there, my coach was a German guy. He was a East German fighter. He had 180 fights when he represented his own country, and he was the Australian national coach. And his name was Bodo Andreas, and we had to call him Coach. He wanted us to call him Coach. Not by his name, we had to call him Coach. He was very strict that way. He was a very strict disciplinarian. And we got on pretty well because I was like that. I like to train hard, and I like to have discipline and you know, that kind of regimented way to train. So before the fight, he was very nervous. I could tell he was very nervous because he knew Alexander Lebziak because he'd been on other Olympic teams before, and he knew how, you know, his legendary status. And he's pretty concerned about his fighter, me, going in against him. And when I said the walls were thin, we could hear him doing the pad work 3 or 4 minutes before, and it was like boom, boom, bang, 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 boom. It sounded like cannons were going off. It sounded like, we knew he was a general in the Russian army, but we didn't realise he was bringing his bloody tank to the fight. And I could see my coach, I could see, and I was doing pads, and he was telling me, Stan, you must do this, Danny, and do this, mate. You just do this, and you move this way, and you move that way. And I could hear the bangs going next door. Every time he'd bang, I could hear my coach, he was going, shit, bang. And I was thinking to myself, mate, I'm the guy fighting. What are you shitting yourself for? Anyway, he said to me all these tactics to do, and I said, hey, coach, I reckon the best thing is, mate, I'm just going to go in there and let him go from the boots, mate. Just have a dig, let him swing. And he goes, I think that's a very good idea. Yes, give me a good go. No worries. So I think, shit, I'm in trouble here. My coach is terrified, and he's not really sure what's going on. So anyway, I walked out. When the song started playing, the Land Down Under started playing, and it nearly lifted the roof off of Darling Harbour's auditorium. It was bananas. I didn't expect it to be like that. The hairs in the back of my neck were standing up. It was very emotional walking out as an Australian fighter into that crowd. And I remember looking back at the boys. They were all sitting there, and I remember the boy, and they were kind of like going, fucking prick. I think, not bad, eh, for an old boy? Good idea, eh, boy? Yeah, I'm off. I was thinking, yeah, I'm off, and they're probably thinking, yeah, he's off to get bashed. And went into the fight, and I knew I had a pretty good chance well, I knew I was probably going to get touched up, but I gave myself every chance of being victorious, because once again I go back to the mindset and the strength that I had mentally to put myself in a position to be confident. I slept like a baby the night before. A lot of people, you know, wouldn't have slept that well, but I slept like a kitten. I'd trained hard, I'd prepared hard. For 6 months I'd prepared as an Olympian for that team, but I'd been training for, you know, 9 or 10 years as an amateur fighter to get to that stage. You dreamed of being an Olympian, so I wasn't about to let that moment go because I was nervous or because I hadn't prepared. I'd done the hard work. I'd prepared physically, I'd prepared mentally, and because I was physically in great condition by mentally being strong, I was mentally very calm and I was very confident going into that fight. I gave myself every opportunity of winning. It was a long shot, but you have to have that kind of mindset. You have to have that ability to believe in yourself to be able to give yourself a chance of being victorious up against a stiff opposition. And he was Alexander the Beast Lebziak, and he had a head like a robber's dog, and that was, I'll quote the commentator saying that, and I'm pretty sure when the commentator said that, he kind of muffled it so that Alexander Lebziak didn't hear him say it. Anyway, the fight started, round 1 started, and I was going very well, and I landed a beautiful right hand, landed a couple of good left hooks, and I think I shocked Alexander Lebziak, not just by the way I was going, but with my aggressiveness and with my I don't care who you are attitude. And in about a minute into the first round, I landed a right hand. It was a beautiful right hand. It hit him right here in the cheekbone. Most people's cheekbones would have been depressed, but the Beast, he went and got angry. And with that punch, I broke, that was the bone, or two bones. You might be able to see it there. See it there? Right there. I broke those bones in the hand in the first minute. And it was very painful. And I remember looking at the replay slow motion, I go, whoop, boom, and I hit him. And then I coil back and I go, bit of a grimace. I'd done it before. I broke my hand 3 times previously. I had to have a plate and 8 screws put in to hold it together. In the Commonwealth Games, I did it, and I finished the fight, won the fight after doing it in the first round as well. So I knew how to deal with pain. I'd put up with pain and adversity in a fight before. It wasn't a drama. I'd fought with a broken nose and a fractured jaw before the fight started from the previous night's fight in Melbourne for the national titles back when I was a pup in the sport in 1996. So I'd learnt to fight through adversity and put up with pain. So after 1 minute, I land this beautiful right hand. He's now angry, and my hand's now broken, and I'm in trouble. Finished the round and was well and truly ahead on points. And I think I shocked a lot of people, including my coach, more than anyone. I shocked Lebziak with the performance I was putting up. The crowd didn't really know, about me and Lebziak. They were just there to watch 2 fighters go, and one of them in Australia, and they were like, yeah, this is a good fight, unreal. Went back to the corner. I remember my coach, Bodo, he was kind of looking very despondent and very down. He was excited and rapt, and I was kind of a bit down. He says, what's wrong, son? You're going beautifully. Throw the right hand more. Throw the right hand more. I didn't want to tell him. Eventually, I had to fess up. I jumped up. I said, mate, I whispered in his ear, I broke my right hand. And you can see his face. He's like, oh. I thought, geez, if he was worried before, what is he going to be like now? Now that I've angered, like I've smacked the hornet's nest over there. Anyway, we went out round 2. In round 2, 15 seconds in round 2, I dropped him with a beautiful left hook. And the crowd have just gone bananas. And after round 2, I was still leading, but he was slowly coming home. And during that round, he broke my nose very badly. Like, it was a pretty bad break again. And went back to the corner. And then after that, I needed about 6 or 8 hands to defeat Lebziak. He was all over me like an octopus, and he started showing his class. And he came home, and it made it very difficult. I only had the one hand, but I never took a back step. And in the end, I did get bashed pretty bad. But I belted him for a good half of the fight. Then halfway, or about 3/4 way through the last round, they stopped the fight because he was too far ahead on points. He was dominating. And in amateur boxing, if you get too far ahead in points, they stop the fight because they call it you're outclassed. So he went on to win the gold medal. But for me...
And best boxer of the Olympics.
And best boxer Olympic Games. There you go, mate. So it wasn't a bad guy to lose to. Having him win the gold medal, and it's just frustrating. I don't say now, I never say I would have won or I could have won. Would have been nice to know how it would have gone had I not broken my hand. Would have been nice to know. I may have beaten him, I may not have. It would have been easy, but for me, I was very proud of the performance I put up. And for my professional career moving forward, I realised, man, I got what it takes. I can hang with the best. I'd only had 35 fights as an amateur. He had 300. So I was a relative pup in the sport, and I can put up with pain no matter what the issue is, whether it's a broken nose, broken jaw, broken hand, or all of the above at once. I can do it. So I turned pro, went 16-0 as a professional fighter, and had all knockouts, and then got the opportunity to fight for the world title in Germany against Marcus Beyer. During that stage, as a professional fighter, as a pro, you have a promoter, and you're a fighter, and you have a manager. And so your manager haggles a promoter to give you the best deal to get for your fights. And my promoter was my manager and my trainer at the one time, which is kind of a strange, conflict of interest to have. How can the manager screw the promoter to get a better deal for his fighter when he's the same entity? But it was, it was kind of a strange thing. So I started thinking to myself, how can I make this better for me? Because I'm the guy in there getting belted. How do I want to make this better for me? And how am I going to get, I've turned professional to try and set myself up for the future. And if I have kids, I want to make them, I want to make them comfortable and hopefully buy a house from the sport. When I first turned pro, my motivation was to win a world title, which was such a massive dream and such a long way away from what I thought I was going to be able to achieve. But I had that dream. That's what I wanted to do. And probably the most realistic goal I had, because I didn't have much when I turned pro, I had nothing, was to earn about $40,000. Because back then that was what would have been a good deposit on a house at on a suburb out near, not near the beach or anything, but a decent house I could buy, and then just go back to work as a carpenter if the boxing didn't pay off, and then pay off my mortgage that way. So that was really a motivating factor to just try and earn 40 grand, 50 grand and put down a deposit, and then go on from there. It turned out to be, obviously I went much better than I thought I was going to go, but that came down to me working hard, sacrificing a lot of things, moving my home over to Sydney where I knew no one and had nothing. And then, my first fight, people would be surprised I was on, live on TV, first fight, just come out of the Olympic Games, I earned $1,200. I went home, threw $1,200 in the bed to my girl. we're now married, but I threw $1,200 in the bed and I was stoked. It was like the biggest party I've ever had, you know, and it was cash too. You know, I was like, wow, we don't have to pay tax in this sucker. It's party. We partied with that for about a week and it was all gone. But no, we didn't really. I put it away because pretty much as soon as I landed in Sydney, my girl back then, my girlfriend, my now wife, Nina, we fell pregnant. So straight away I obviously had responsibility to deal with, which was great for me, being a younger guy. When I say younger in the sport, and having a baby on the way really helped me set my tracks and realise it's not just me I'm fighting for, or not just my girlfriend, but now I have a child come into the world that I've really got to persevere and sacrifice a lot more for, and really pull the reins in and be responsible, because now I'm a soon-to-be father. So I set a professional company up. Thanks, mate. I set a company up called Green Machine Promotions. It was back then. It's now evolved into Green Machine Boxing. But we set up some friends of mine. One was my accountant. One was a friend of my father's who worked in Hungry Jack's in marketing and getting sponsorship. So he was the guy who got the sponsorship for our events. Another lady who invented, you guys know the shopper docket things? The old shopper docket things? Well, she was the lady who invented that, and she was a friend of ours. And she had a memorabilia store and merchandising. She was a bit of a wheeler and a dealer and a really switched on older lady, and she was very street savvy and street smart, so she came in handy. Had a media guy, and we set up Green Machine Promotions. So it means that I was now the promoter, and the trainer, promoter, manager that I had was now only the trainer. And that upset him, but it didn't really bother me because he'd taken enough from me, and I was the one there getting damaged. And the only reason that he couldn't do it, because he didn't have the ability, he couldn't put bigger fights on. We thought, we can do this, we can make this work. We had a vision. And our first fight, we filled up Challenge Stadium in Perth, 5,000 people, in my 12th professional fight. And it was a pretty special thing to be able to do, to be able to be the promoter and the fighter and do the deal for the fight and fill the stadium with our first go. And from then, we went on to bigger and better things. So my 17th professional fight, I fought over in Germany. I made my way into the top 10 and had 16 fights, 16 KOs, and they chose to fight me. And it was a world title fight. And I remember getting the phone call. I was at home, and Nina was on the couch, and she's about, how old was 2003, so Chloe was about a year and a half old at that stage. She was asleep. At 10:30, got the phone call. Mate, we've got the world title. It's over in Germany against Marcus Bayer. Do you want to take it? And I said, what do you mean, do I want to take it? Fucking course I want to take it. Let's do it. He told me what the money was. It was pittance. Was fighting. I'll tell you what it was. I was fighting. How much? What do you reckon you get for a world title fight, live on TV, big fight, massive promotion over in Germany, in a pretty good market? How much? 50 grand? $1 million? 30 grand? But that was before I whacked it up and paid everyone their share. But it wasn't a lot of money, but it wasn't about the money. I wasn't fighting for the money. I just was fighting. You know, I'd kicked a few goals with the promotional company. I was fighting to set my family up. But I was fighting to win the world title. So I said, let's do it. Let's take the fight. Stoked. Went to Germany. They didn't expect me to put up much of a fight. I was relatively inexperienced, so in against a two-time champion. After round 5, they called the fight off, and I got disqualified for a headbutt. I dropped him round 1, dropped him round 2, absolutely carved this guy up, and it was a one-sided affair. In round 5, we clashed heads. I didn't headbutt him. We clashed heads. His eye was badly cut in round 2 by a punch. The fight should have been called off in round 3. And we clashed heads on the replay. You see my head only just brushes this side of his face, but it's on this side. I won't touch because the microphone brushes his face here. It doesn't even touch his eye. 11 minutes after they stopped the fight, they disqualified me. Worldwide, it was condemned. It was deemed as hideously corrupt. Once again in Germany, there's a lot of poor decisions there, and I was on the wrong end of another one. And it was a world title fight. And since the age of 5, 6, I've dreamed of that. And I was now 29 years old, and dreamed of it and worked my ass off. Been through a lot of broken bones, a lot of pain, a lot of adversity, and a hell of a lot of sacrifice had gone into that one moment. And it was taken from me. And it was taken from me corruptly. It was taken from me. I shouldn't have been disqualified. I should have maybe got deducted a point, or maybe even they could have even deducted 2 points. Still means I win the fight because they should have called off. But I didn't. They disqualified me, and it was a disgraceful decision. And it was a world title. It was like, man, that's the biggest and best thing in the world a fighter can have. And as a bloke, that's what you dream of doing. And it was just taken away from me. I did the job. I nailed the bloke, and I fought to perfection. And I guess did what no one thought that I'd do, but I did myself. I knew myself, my family, my friends, my team. We knew we could do it. And I did it, and I pulled off, and I put everything together on that 15 minutes. I put everything together in such a a pressure-filled, cabin of intensity and pulled it out. Was mentally very calm, did the job, and then got robbed. So then people say to me, how do you deal with it? How do you handle that kind of that adversity and that corruption that took away a world title? And it's pretty easy. When I landed at the airport in Sydney, my daughter was there, Chloe. She ran up and gave me a massive hug. She greeted me, and I lived in Australia. I had my health. My daughter was healthy. I went home that night, was able to buy my family a feed, put food on the table for my kids, and I was able to go on and fight again. So it's pretty easy to put that behind me, because there's people in this day and age that have no money, no homes, they're losing their life through conflict and through no fault of their own, dying of illness and disease, have no food on the table, and live in a country where there's conflict, and it's pretty easy to put into perspective how easy it was for me to go, right, that was the thing in the past, I lost the fight, I won the fight, they took the world title from me, but really, I'm pretty lucky where I sit. That's how I saw it, and that's how I persevered and got on with it straight away. I then got the opportunity to fight in Canada and Montreal for the world title again, because Marcus Bai, the guy I just bashed, he had to retire, needed plastic surgery, so they put the world title up for the guy that had the world title before that, Eric Lucas, two-time champion as well. And they put me and him in together over in Montreal, and they once again didn't expect me to be victorious. They paid me, this time I got paid a very good purse, and it was my biggest purse that I got paid till that date. And went over there, and not only did I win the world title, I knocked him out in round 6 in front of 15,000 screaming Montreal fans, but unfortunately for him, sent him bankrupt, because they bankrolled such a big amount of money to bring me over there, create a big hype, get a massive fight going. They didn't expect me to win, they expected Lucas to clean me up, then they recouped the money in the next couple of fights. They have the next couple of defences. That's how it kind of works. So unfortunately for him, he lost his world title, got badly stopped, and his company went bankrupt. He's now back on his feet, and he's promotes another couple of fighters in Montreal, and has done very well for himself, which I'm glad, because he's a very good human being. So I went on to have a few more fights, and then I come up against Marcus Bai, because funnily enough, he came back. So we had the rematch. I lost the fight. I went back in, I was a 4-1 favourite to beat him, and that's when I learned about mentally not preparing properly. I learned the hard way. I lost my world title because I wasn't mentally as prepared as I could have been, and had a few obstacles to overcome outside the ring, and didn't switch on, and lost my world title. Once again, I had to deal, and there was talks of me, getting rid of this coach, and everyone was saying, you should get rid of this guy, you should split with the trainer, he's no good, and it was the right thing to do, and it was a very hard decision to make, but I came back to Australia, minus my world title, against a guy that I was, should have beaten, comprehensively, but I fought bad, he fought great, and he won the fight, he won the world title back. So I came back to Australia, had a few hard decisions to make, and I decided to split with this trainer. He went on to train Mike Tyson in Mike Tyson's last fight, and various other things, and we went our separate ways. Got a new coach, flew to Thailand, met this bloke, little Cuban guy by the name of Ismail Salas, and he trained 5 world champions, and in 2007, after training with me for 2.5 years, or just on 2 years, sorry, we won another world title together, won the light heavyweight, WBA light heavyweight world title, so I'd now won 2 world titles. My son was born 6 days after that fight, and I think that to this date has been the best week of my life. Apart from the week my daughter was born, winning a world title and having a son born the same week, I don't think gets any better. So I won that fight, and I won the world title, and I did it in Perth. And I said to people, I said to the public in Perth all along, I'm going to bring the fight back to home. I'm going to bring the world title. I'm going to win a world title in front of you, in here in Challenge Stadium in front of all you guys. And they were screaming and went crazy. But I don't think they actually believed it was going to happen. But I was very, very determined to make that happen. And we angled and we persevered and we looked, how we can make it happen. We fight this guy, beat this guy, beat this guy. We can get to this guy, and I reckon we get to get him to come out and put his title on the line here if we pay him enough money. And that when I told him we're paying a substantial amount of money, nearly 7 figures, to get a guy to come out to Australia to put his world title on the line. That's the only way he'll come here if we pay him a substantial amount of money. So I won the world title and then retired. A couple of days later, about 6 weeks later, I woke up one morning, had a very funny feeling in my stomach, and it was telling me to retire, to walk away from the sport. So I thought I'll sleep on it and see how I feel in the morning. I woke up the next morning, I was clear, I was adamant I was going to retire. I'd won 2 world titles, I bought a house, I've set myself up for the future if need be. I've got my faculties intact, and my gut's telling me to walk away from the sport, go surfing for a while and chill out and do something else. So I retired. Within six months, I had a bit of an itch I wanted to scratch, and I thought, oh geez, I want to come back. And as you all know, professional fighters, we got to come back once. You can't retire and not come back, it just wouldn't be right. So I came back, In between that stage, I did the Dancing with the Stars show and did a few other things that occupied my time. Learned how to dance and did this and did that, and you know, I poured a lot of time on the kids, but I wanted to fight again. I was obviously very glad I did. When I came back, I had a warm-up fight in Perth, and then I got the opportunity to fight for the Cruiserweight World title in the United States. I went over there and knocked the guy in the 5th round in a fairly entertaining bout. He nearly tore my spine off in round 3, sorry, and I knocked him out in the 5th round. And Roy Jones fought in the same show. He knocked out Jeff Lacey, a 2-time champion, and that set the fight up with myself and Roy Jones Jr. in Australia. That was a fairly big fight. I guess it was the second largest fight, numbers-wise and prestige-wise, the country's ever seen. Roy Jones Jr. is an 8-time world champion, and you know, I guess no one really gave me a chance to win the fight. They gave, I was a 5-1 underdog when the bell went, and I guess I've never ever felt more confident and more at ease before a fight in my entire life than that one night, and that was probably the hardest fight I was going to ever take. He just destroyed Jeff Lacey, and no one gave me a chance. They kind of thought, man, we're going for you. With our heart, we're going for you. But with our heads, we think you might have bitten off a little bit more than you can chew. And that whole preparation, that 6-month lead-in, myself and my trainer, Angela Hyder, we'd studied Roy Jones to a T. We'd done an impeccable job on him. We worked out exactly what makes him tick, where his weaknesses lie, where his strengths are, how to avoid getting into his strengths, how to try and, you know, I guess, expose his weaknesses. It takes a lot of time, a lot of video analysis, and we had to get sparring partners that are exactly the same style as Roy Jones Jr., pay them a lot of money to come in and punch him. We're paying them a lot of money to come and punch him in the face. So, you know, and we'd done the trick and trained, and everything went according to plan. And it was kind of strange, you know, when you have one of those nights where you're not expected to be victorious, but you completely and utterly blow the guy away. And I remember when the bell went, before the bell went, the referee came over to me, and he said, you know, he taps you on the groin, you know, because you got a groin guard on, just make sure you got it, right? So he gives you a little flick in the groin, and then, you know, make sure you get your mouth guard on. He goes upon me, goes, right, you ready to go, Dunny? I said, mate, I'm ready to rumble. You know, I had a smile on my face, I was calm. It was almost like I was just walking on the beach with a 6-pack in my hand. And the bell went because I was that calm and that, you know, that ready to do what we'd set out to do. And it was the fight of a lifetime. And Ace Arena had 18,000 fans. It was packed, and it was you know, the pressure that was on me. I was the promoter. I actually had to put my house on the line to get him, because we had to pay a $2.5 million guarantee 8 weeks before the fight to get him even to come out to Australia, because he didn't think we'd be able to pay him. So it was a pretty substantial amount of money to put up. So I was really putting my balls on the line hard. And if I didn't win and the fight didn't sell, or if the fight didn't sell, then I'm stuffed. And if I didn't win, well, then I'm stuffed. So it was a pretty big gamble to take. But I guess that's what made it all the more worthwhile. In round 1, we knew that Roy Jones, when he fought, he had his hand down here a lot. And he does this a lot. He taps with his right hand, he taps the opponent's hand. And he taps their fist, and what he does, he's doing that to get you out of your mind, to get you out of your game plan, to try and take you off your game plan and get in your head a bit. And it's a very unorthodox way to do things. And we studied it, and I said to my trainer, I said, hey, mate, he does that all the time. He's trying to get the guy to put off. And then what the guy does, the guy gets angry, and he gets frustrated, and he tries to come in and land big shots. But that's when Roy goes bop, bop, and he sees him coming, he goes bop, bop, and he counter punches, and he sees them, and they fall into his game plan. So what I said I'm going to do, I said, exactly what I want to do. I want to do the same thing to him. As soon as he just pulls that right hand out there, I want to just start tapping his right hand. I'm just going to tap it, tap it, tap it. And I'll get him back on the ropes. When he does it on the ropes, he does it. I'm going to do it, tap, tap, tap. Then I'm going to jam a body shot into a jab in the body section. He's going to throw a left hook, because we'd studied him and watched him do it 1,000 times. Whenever he was on the ropes and someone jabbed in the body, he'd always counter pretty much 8 out of 10 with a left hook. And then when he'd do the left hook, he'd come back here and he'd be exposed with his hand down. So he'd, boom, do that, pull off the left hook, come over the right hand. And it pretty much went like that. As basic as I just said it, that's exactly what happened. It was about a minute and a half in the first round. He just started on the ropes. He started putting the right hand there. Here we go, boom, boom. I didn't have to think about doing it. I just did it because we'd studied it and we'd trained to do it thousands and thousands of times, that six-month build up to the fight. Boom, 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 jammed the body shot in him, pulled off the hook, come over, landed right hand. It sounded like a whip cracking, hit him right in the above the top of the ear here. He went down, and when I went over the corner, right at the corner, and I looked over at him, and he's actually gone down again. He's gone down twice from the one punch, and you know someone's in trouble when they go down twice from one punch. He got up, to his credit, he got up. It was a pretty big shot that he took. It hit him right above the ear. It didn't look like it was a massive shot, but it made a hell of a crack, and it hit him above there, and it really upset his equilibrium. So then when he got up, I went in, finished him off, and that was it. It was the fight over, and it was pretty much, to this date, the most amazing feeling I've ever had in a boxing ring. It was like someone took the MCG lighting plugs and all 4 plugs, and they put the plug into one little plug, and then they put that plug and shoved it up my bum, and then pressed the on switch. Pressed the on switch because the electricity was just coming out. It was just amazing. That's pretty much only way I can explain the electricity that was in my body that night when it happened. And you know, it was incredible. I went on to defend my title again. I defended against Roy. I defended it 3 more times, and then I come up against Antonio Tava. I lost against Antonio Tava. I got beaten up pretty badly that night. I had a shocking night. It was a fairly tough thing to handle. I got beaten up, and when you get beaten up in front of a lot of people that are there to see you win, and you know, it's all over the country in Australia on the TV, and there's thousands in the crowd, it's pretty tough for it to handle, because as a fighter, we all got egos. As a fighter, you've got to have a decent sort of size of an ego to be a professional fighter. If you think you can beat that bloke up and he thinks he can beat you up, well then a lot of it comes down to, you know, your ego as well. But you've got to have your ego in check, and you've got to have, there's no point having an ego that big if your ability is only that big, or your heart's only that big as well. You've got to have all that stuff to match the size of your ego. My ego's not massive, but it's there. So it takes a bit of a hammering when you get beaten up in front of people, especially, you know, when you're almost the favourite. But I knew I wasn't really the favourite. I felt, you know, had a very stressful time leading into that. No excuse, he beat me up bad. I copped it sweet, moved on. Here comes the thing about mental strength. What do? Do I retire? Everyone's saying, oh, you should retire. You got beaten up by Antonio Tava, that's it, you know, you should give it away. Every single time I've lost, I've come back stronger. And that's, I guess, you know, that's what's helped me, you know, become a better fighter, is I've looked at myself and gone, well, can I take this on? Can I beat this guy? Can I do it again? Or can't I? And so I decided, am I going to fight again? I said to myself, that wasn't the best I have to offer. I'm going to fight again. And I'm not only going to fight, am I going to fight again, but I'm going to take on the best guy that I can get to prove to myself. This fight wasn't for anyone else, it was for myself. I chose the hardest guy in my division. He was a Polish guy, 2-time champion, the current WBC cruiserweight champion. His name was Krzysztof Lodarczyk. I've only just learned how to say his name properly after about a year of saying it. You should see how it's spelt. Anyway, he was an animal. He was 6'2". He was just a bigger, stronger, younger version of myself. In saying that, he was a very strong guy who walked forward, a very good puncher, had a very good chin, and loved to fight, and wasn't afraid of anyone. So I was in against an animal, and I knew that. And then in between the training camp, the negative demons were coming in. You know, can I beat this guy? Shit, I might have bitten off more than I can chew here. This is going to be very difficult. I don't want to get knocked out again. All these negative things come in. But that's when I had to dig deep, I guess, mentally, and look at myself in the mirror and go, man, can I do this? Do I want to do this? The answer was yes. Can I do this? Well, sometimes the answer was no. But then I just had to keep reassuring myself mentally that I have the ability, I have the guts, I have the power, the punching power, and I've got the right mindset here. I can defeat this guy. I was probably not expected to last half the fight, because this guy was a very good fighter, and after my last performance, people thought that I was going to get beaten. After round 1, the bell went after round 1. I sat down in my corner. My trainer, then Angelo, looked at me, and he's got absolute faith in me, and I've got absolute faith in him. And he looked at me, and a lot of people in the crowd were like, oh, this fight's not going the way we thought. It was going to greens on top. And then my trainer looked at me, and he just started giving me instructions like we were just at training. There was no big thing, and that's how we treat a fight. We treat a fight like we're at training. It's not like it's any big thing. It's no bigger. It's, people say, do you get scared? I don't get scared. I get worried I'm not going to perform. I get scared of not performing. That's where the fear for me lies. Not in my opponent, not in getting hurt, in not performing. After round 4 and 5, I sat there. I nearly knocked him out in round 5. In round 5, I sat back down after the bell had finished, and I said to my trainer, I remember clearly saying to my trainer, H, I said, mate, I got this. I got this. And he goes, yeah, mate, I know. Let's just stay cool. And I wasn't being arrogant. I wasn't being cocky. I'm like, that was just me being confident. I've got this. If I stay cool and keep doing what I'm doing, I'm going to get this. I'm going to win a 4th world title, pull off an absolute fairy tale victory against the best cruiserweight in the division. And it was just a massive, massive, you know, and every round that went by, round 6, round 7, round 8, it was like a dream. Then in round 9, shit hit the fan. He busted my nose very badly. I've had busted noses lots before, but this time the break was bad. It was in a position that somehow made my nose bleed profusely. So I was pouring blood out my nose. Then I couldn't breathe. I was spraying the blood everywhere to try and breathe, get some air in. It was pouring down the back of my throat, and I was choking. I was coughing up blood. So that made my motor dramatically slow down. So from round 9 to round 10, I'd gone right downhill as far as my oxygen intake. Now, oxygen intake is what enables you to keep going, what enables your lactic acid to get out of your muscles and enable you to, I guess, perform at a high level. And my oxygen levels had gone down because I couldn't breathe, I couldn't get the oxygen in, as well as trying to keep this animal off who was coming home very hard. And that's when I thought, nah, stay cool, you're going to do this. That's when I started using my experience, tying him up, using little cheeky shots to gain an advantage. When the referee wasn't looking at time, I'd hold his hand here, stop him working, because he was a younger guy, he was stronger, and he knew he had to knock me out, and he was coming home like a steam train. So I had to use my experience and a bit of the old cunningness I've got and try and stop his onslaught. In round 11, I was 4 points ahead on all 4 scorecards. It was a shutout victory. All I had to do was finish the fight. My coach and my mates all say to me, now, why the heck didn't you just get on your bike and just jab the fight out? I said, boys, that's not who I am. I can't do that. I said, I actually thought, here's where the ego comes in. I actually thought I could knock the guy out. I thought, you know what, there's no better way to win a fight than by knockout. And it's not because it's a malicious way. I don't want to hurt anyone. I'd hate to hurt anyone in the boxing ring. That's not my aim. And any fighter who goes into a fight in the boxing ring and their aim is to hurt someone, they won't succeed. And the game of boxing sorts them out. You'll find all the best fighters in the world, none of their intentions is to hurt anyone, it's just to be successful. But unfortunately, the byproduct of my sport can be injury and pain, but unfortunately, the way it is, I want to win a fight by knockout. That's the ultimate way to win a fight. It's like, winning a game of footy by 1 point. It's the most exciting way to win. But winning by knockout is what I wanted to do to this guy. I thought I wasn't supposed to win. I wasn't even supposed to go 6 or 8 rounds by most people's, opinion. Here I am dominating. I want to knock this guy out and really shove it up everyone. Unfortunately, it wasn't a B. 45 seconds left in round 11. He's hit me with an absolute peach of a left hook. He hit me just here. My hands were up. I wasn't doing anything silly. I wasn't showing off. I wasn't being a lair. I was doing exactly what I'd done for 10 and a half rounds. I was waiting to draw him I was on the ropes, waiting for him to come in, and I was going to counterpunch him. Unfortunately, he proved his class. He beat me, beat me to the punch by a split second, and it knocked me out. And it took my legs completely out. So as soon as he hit me, my legs completely went out, and I just slumped to the canvas face first. And this is one of the proudest moments I've had in my career, and this is why I've made it to where I have in this game of boxing and been able to persevere because of my mental strength. A lot of people would have been knocked unconscious. They wouldn't have been able to even move. They would have been out cold asleep until the body, regained its faculties. I was still trying to get up to my feet, and I remember trying to get up, and my hand was twitching, my face is pouring out with blood, and the ropes were there, and I was trying to, I couldn't see them. I thought my hand kept doing that because I was trying to grab the rope to give me a hand up, but I couldn't see it properly because I was so concussed. I eventually got to my feet. I don't know how I got it, but about 6 or 7 seconds I got to my feet. Before the fight, the referee says, if you get dropped, if you drop someone, you go to the corner, wait for the count. If you get dropped, then you get up, you try and get up, and you show me you're right to go on. If I think you're okay to go on, you've got to show me. You don't say anything, just show me you're right to go on. Give me an indication you're cool, I'll let the fight go on. If not, I'll call the fight off. So here I am, and I'm trying to get to my feet, and time stood still. 10 seconds ago, I was on top of the world, and I was about to fulfill a fairy tale victory. And it was the jubilation that was starting to well inside me in between rounds was overwhelming. It was insane. And then it all just went and took away from me in a split second with an absolute peach of a punch. I got to my feet, and I'm sitting there, and I'm thinking, yeah, ref, I'm good, let's go, mate. I'm going to finish this. I can do this. But in reality, I'm all over the place, and I'm stumbling, and the ref goes, no, that's it. He stopped, and I fell face first again. He saved me. It was it. The fight was over. My dream was over once again, and he was the victor, and he knew he had a get out of jail free card with that left hook, and he used it, and it was a beautiful punch, and he proved his class. So it was very, very upsetting, and I saw the referee 2 months later in Japan at a fight, and he said, man, that was so close. And I had the next day I had to go to hospital for a fractured cheekbone, a fractured jaw, and obviously a badly broken nose. And he said, man, when you got dropped, the blood that was coming out of your face, out of your mouth, was black. He said, I thought your jaw was really badly broken. I was really, I didn't think you're going to get to your feet. He says, I don't even know how you got to your feet. And he refereed all the fights. He said, that was a really gutsy effort to get to your feet, mate. And he says, I couldn't let it go on. I said, no, you made the right decision, mate. I would have got knocked out and hurt even more, so I got no beef. I had no problems with losing that fight because I gave everything that I had, physically and mentally, in my preparation. I sacrificed everything to get in that physical condition, and I sacrificed the hell that I left my kids for 6 weeks. I left my family. I only talked to them on the phone and prepared like an animal to be in that condition. And so although I lost that fight, I'm very proud of the performance that I gave, and it's one of the proudest moments of my career, although it wasn't a winning, a winning fight. So then I had to make a decision. I'm nearly the end of my talk, guys, so if you want to go to sleep, you can go to sleep pretty soon. Oh, mate, Danny's falling asleep. Just joking. No, I know, mate, not you, I was pointing at him. So I had to make a decision. Should I retire? Should I give it up? What do I do? Do I continue on? And, you know, it's hard, you know. I didn't want to go out that way, and I'm 39 years old, and I'm leaving the gym about half an hour after the guys that I've flown from the United States. One will spar 4 rounds, the other guy will spar 4 rounds. I'll get out and finish my work. They're showered and back in the cab on the way back to the hotel. I'm still training. I love what I do, and I'm good at what I do. I've been given a gift, and I want to use it to its fullest potential, but I'm also aware that boxing can be detrimental, or is detrimental to my health. So I've got to weigh it up and look at the long-term future and the long-term ramifications of what I do in my sport. So I decided to go again, have another fight, and you know, prepared hard, obviously, and fought a guy from America called Danny Santiago, the Bronx Bomber. He'd fought in 3 world title fights, and his last fight was in Las Vegas against the world champion, the light heavyweight world champion, which we were targeting. Beybut Shumanov from Kazakhstan, who's based in Las Vegas. He went 9 hard rounds with Shumanov, so he thought, oh, we'll get this guy. It's give me a good test, see where I'm at after that knockout loss against Vladacek. And I dropped the weight a bit, see if I can come back down light heavyweight, see how I go. I put him away in 5 rounds, and I fought, you know, I fought for myself. I fought very, very, very well tactically, you know, my power was there. And a lot of people said, that's the best I've seen you fight in a long time, although you lost to Vladacek. Your fights before that, that's the best I've seen you fight for a long time. So I'm not sure what I'm going to do in my career. We possibly may have, you know, another fight in the future looming. I said I wouldn't fight in Western Australia again. That's my hometown. I fought there 14 out of 37 times. I said I wouldn't fight there purely for the fact that if I don't say it, well, I'll just keep bloody fighting there. So I've just got to say that. I put that to sleep because I realise I can't fight forever. I want to, but I know I can't. I've got to be smart. And I want to leave my career, and I'd like to leave my career, if possible, with people wanting to see me fight again. That'd be the ultimate way for me to go out with my dignity intact. And I've been blessed to have such phenomenal support, and I try and give as much love back as I receive from my fans and supporters, because they know, I think they do, I'm pretty sure they are, they all know that I would hug and buy each and every one of them a carton of beer if I could, to thank them for the amazing feeling they've given me, and I hope I've given them as much as they've given me in my career. But that would be the ultimate way for me to leave my career, knowing that people want to see me fight again. That's a compliment for me. I don't want them saying, oh, you should give it away, mate, which some people are going to say. They've all got their own opinions. I can't change that. So I guess I'll wait and see what's going to happen in the near future. There's possibly maybe something on the horizon. We're working on one thing. If it comes off, it does. If it doesn't, well, then we won't do it. I don't just want to fight for the sake of fighting. I want to fight for something that means something, that's exciting, that makes me get out of bed. And when I say jump out of bed, I don't jump out of bed anymore. I kind of creak out of bed. But I get out of bed, makes me going to get out of bed and train hard and persevere and sacrifice and be mentally strong, because that's the fun part of me. It's the challenge. That's the most exciting part. The promoting, the managing, doing all the media and all that kind of stuff. That's kind of past. I'm past it. I'm over that stuff. It's frustrating. The part I love is the pure side of boxing, the training, the fighting, and the sacrifice, and the mind games, and the strength mentally to see whether I have the ability to do what I want to do, and it's the challenge. That's what I love about it, the challenge.
We've got some questions here, if you don't mind me just throwing into you, because one of the things that this whole event is about mindset. And I counted, you mentioned mindset 15 times during your presentation. So obviously it's pretty big. And one of the questions we got here is, what sort of mindset is required to be a world champion? I'm not talking about just being in the ring and boxing, but to be a world champion.
It's a hard question, mate. It's a good question.
I didn't write it. It came from people like this. Yeah.
Yep. Well, it's a matter of, I guess, believing in yourself.
Right.
And it's tough. You know, you're in there against a fighter who is, he's not just a mug. He's not just a bum who's, you know, can throw a few punches. He's a trained machine. He's an athlete. He's like an animal. He's trained. He's doing the same thing I'm doing, and he's trained to withstand punishment. He's trained to deal punishment. He's emotionally, you know, I expect him to be like I am, very cold to your opponent. You don't want to hurt them, but a byproduct of my sport is inflicting damage. That's how you beat them. You break them down. You break them, chop them down. So it takes, I guess, one of the mindsets that I've had to not adopt, but I have, is to be emotionally very cold. towards my opponent. I don't have any feeling towards them. I have utmost respect for them, but when the bell goes, I have nothing but coldness for them. I don't want to know them. I don't want to know about them. But the funny thing is in my sport, and I guess you'd be the same in your games too, mate, you might be not enemies, but you might kind of, he's trying to knock me unconscious. I'm trying to knock him unconscious. And not only am I trying to knock him unconscious, but I'm trying to take away his future potential earnings. And he's doing the same to me. And it's a very intimate thing when you're man to man, face to face, and you're sitting, you're touching your head, you're sweating each other, and you're actually trying to knock this guy out, and you know he's trying to knock you out. It's like, and then when you get hurt a bit, and you're wobbling a bit, and you can see his eyes light up, and he jumps on you, and he thinks, oh, I've got this guy, I'm going to jump on him now. It's really, really intimate. It's kind of, it's a bizarre thing, and you also become very endeared towards your opponent as the fight goes on. So I start off cold as ice, not trying to intimidate or scare him, just how I am. I don't want to know him. I'm in a zone, and I've got a job to do, and I've got a job to do that I've been training to do for possibly 3 or 4 months, every single day, sometimes twice a day, and you just live, eat, sleep, breathe boxing. You sacrifice, you go without a beer, you go without all good food, you just eat the right diet, you're stretching, you're getting massage. And when I say massage, you'll know, mate, your massage is unenjoyable. They're deep therapy, they suck.
It hurts.
It
really hurts.
Yeah, I'm getting a massage. What are you doing, mate? I'm getting a massage. You call back, oh, you lucky bugger. Oh, yeah, you come do it, man. It sucks. But you become endeared towards your opponent. You start to actually really, really like the guy, because you're whacking him, you're hurting him, and you're seeing him get back up and come back for you, and he's trying to do what you're trying to do to him. You see the guts and the courage and the determination this man has. You actually want to just hug him. So it's tough sometimes, because you've got to finish him off. Sometimes I've had to finish him off. I want to hold you up, man. I'll get you a beer, buddy. But I'm sorry, son, I have to do this. I'll take you out and I'll buy you a beer after.
Don't do that. That's scary.
So, yeah, I guess like any athlete like yourself, mate, you play at a very high level. Like I have at boxing, it takes, I guess, you've got to be competitive, and you have to want it. It's how much you want it. Do you want to be successful in your business or your life? If the answer is, oh, yeah, maybe, well, I guess that's what you'll get out of it. If you want to be successful, you're kicking the door down to be successful, then you will be successful. And no one can, you can get help from people, but no one can do it by you.
That sort of leads me to another question that was posed, and that was, what was your biggest fear that you had to overcome to get to the level of success that you have achieved in your life?
I guess I wasn't really, to be honest, man, I wasn't really afraid of getting to this point in my life, because I didn't think I'd get here.
Okay, so maybe in saying that,
not being smart, I just didn't think I'd get to this level. You dream of it, but you don't. But like I said, I turned pro to put a deposit in a house so I could work and pay off the house for the rest of my life. I didn't think I'd get to the position where I'm at and win 3 world titles and travel the world and beat some of the best fighters and lose to some of the best fighters and fight some of the guys I used to watch as a kid. I just didn't dream of it. And I guess I've just gravitated towards it, and mentally it's what I wanted to do. So I guess I've been successful. But the main thing I feared, as I think I touched on, is the fear of failure.
Right. Okay.
I don't want to fail, and unfortunately, I have failed, and when I fail, everyone sees it, so it can be tough.
Okay.
But when I win, everyone sees it too, so it weighs up.
Right. In the sport as a whole, in boxing, when you talk about fear, when you got into the ring and you were fighting someone who was of equal caliber to you, big, strong, passionate. Could you ever sense that maybe sometime the other fighters had a fear that you could immediately attack, or that they had something about them that you knew that you had more determination and will in the fight, in the ring with them?
Yeah, I fought a guy called B.J. Flores, an young American kid. He was 30 years old, and when I say young, he was younger than me. I was 37 or 38, and he was, he was only starting to hit his straps physically. Big, strong, tough kid, very athletically gifted, and he could sense. I took his will. Mm-hmm. I took his will by my, by my aggression and just the aura I gave off. I think, yep. And just my will. I think he could smell the fact that I don't just want to. This guy's not just trying to beat me; he's trying to beat me up. He's trying to really crack me. And I guess my style of fighting is I know the body very well, and I know I'll go to the body. I'll forgo going the head to go to the body because I know that'll chop you down, and I know where to hit someone in the face to create maximum damage not in a detrimental, not in a malicious way, but that's to win the fight.
Well, I'm taking that pretty malicious, the way you're looking at me like that. So I think I'll stand over here. You can finish the conversation because you don't have the...
You got the reach, man. We on that.
Well, I can still go now. Don't take the old age. No, sorry. Go back.
Told me how old you were before, man. I was shocked. You're in Mad Nick. But yeah, it's I took this guy. Yeah, he could smell that I really wanted to be victorious, and he was a better fighter as far as his speed was better. He had better combinations. He was better technically gifted. He was born with better skill than I was.
Yeah. On
paper, physically, agility-wise, athletic-wise, he probably should have won.
Yeah.
And he should have won, 9 times out of 10. But my punching power was better, my experience was better, and my mongrel and my will to win. Won the fight.
Right. Okay. And we'll finish up and get you out on here. On this one is when you look back on your journey, is there anything you wish that you could have done differently, going back to even amateur and then getting into professionals and some of your championship fights? Or anything that you would, if you could, which you can't, but what would you do?
Some of the losses I've had, be great. Like we all would love to have a crystal ball. To some of the losses I've had, I think I don't know because boxing's 50-50 all the time, but I think I could change the result, make it a different result, having known what was going to happen. And sometimes one of the fights I even knew what was happening, but I just couldn't stop it because I was so deeply involved with the promotion and as a promoter, and there was a lot at stake. I was really under a lot of pressure to try and promote the fight and try to get the people to get bums on seats. So it was tough. I put a lot of pressure on myself for my whole career, but in the same token, I've been able to have my own promotional company, so I haven't been doing this. I've been the one doing that to myself. I haven't had someone else pulling the strings for me, so I'm proud of that. But it's kind of come at a cost on some fights, so probably would have put less pressure on myself.
Okay.
And not worried so much about the small things, just concentrated more when I'm in fight zone, just concentrate on my opponent, nothing else. But unfortunately, the pressure I put on myself, it didn't allow that.
Okay, good. Well, ladies and gentlemen, I've been doing this. Yes, put your hands together for Danny. I've been doing this for about 12 years, interviewing athletes from all different types of sports. And I must say that by far the most articulate, the most well-thought information that's take-home and can be applicable to every aspect of your life. And on behalf of 21st Century and Jamie McIntyre, the team, and all of the people who stuck around to hear you speak, we want to thank you for your thought-provoking information. You're a champion. You're a man of courage, of conviction, and whatever it is that you hope to do in the future, I'm sure you have 100% of all of our hopes and dreams for you to be the best at whatever that is.
Thanks very much, man.
Okay, thank you. Give it up again one more time. Danny Green.
Thanks, guys. Thanks for staying. Much appreciated.